welcome to this week's In Conversation. My name is Phil Jackman and I lead on CyberNorth, Dynamo Northeast cybersecurity cluster supported by Accenture and the Innovation Super Network. We're recognised by DCMS and the NCSC as representing the region, and each week I'm talking to people in the Northeast cybersecurity industry. Today I'm joined by Paddy O'Keefe, Detective Sergeant, Regional Development Officer, Fraud and Economic Crime at NERSOU. Oh, that's a mouthful. Hi Paddy.
Hi Phil, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I think, the last time we met in happier times was at the Crown Plaza. I think we had a cup of coffee just as the pandemic was kicking off. Can you start then by telling us a bit about yourself and your role at NERSOU?
Yeah, I remember the coffee well. It was a last taste of freedom, I think. No, my name is Paddy O'Keefe. I'm a Detective Sergeant with Northumbria Police, and I've been with them since 2004. I now work at NERSOU, and I've been at NERSOU for coming up 6 years now. NERSOU is the regional organised crime unit covering the northeast. So it's an amalgamation of officers from Northumbria, Durham, and Cleveland. And the purpose of NERSOU is to tackle serious and organised crime across the northeast. I've been here 6 years. The last 2 years, I've been performing the role that you introduced me as, the Regional Development Officer for Fraud and Economic Crime. And that's a role where I work as the sort of liaison to the City of London Police, who are the national lead for fraud, economic crime, and as of July last year, cyber as well. And I work with them, work with the region, and the idea is really to improve our response to these threats, to develop it and improve, communication, consistency, and a better level of service at a national, regional, and local level.
So why is something like NERSOU needed rather than just the independent police forces?
NERSOU and the ROCU network, so the Regional Organised Crime Units, have been around, must be over 10 years now, and we fill the gap between local police forces and the NCA, who tackle the sort of national to international level. So we look at that regional perspective, working with the forces, and then also how that links in to the national picture.
Sounds extremely interesting. So how did you manage to get into this sort of specialist niche of policing?
It was a natural progression, really, for me. I joined Northumbria, and I did, I think, about three and a half years in uniform before moving into the CID, and I've worked as a detective ever since. Within Northumbria, I moved around into the major crime teams and worked on lots of different investigations. And then from there, the opportunity came to go for a job at the region. I was here originally on what used to be called the Bombay team. It's now known as the Regional Investigation Team. And really their focus was complex cross-border investigations, where we had organised crime groups from other areas of the country that would come into the northeast and target our communities, and then probably disappear out after the offence had taken place. So it was a slightly different investigation to what would normally sit within the forces. And that's the speciality of that team. They're still going today, and I still work with them, on a daily basis.
Excellent. So I mean, we're here to talk about cybersecurity. So how much of organised crime in the region has a cybersecurity element?
Well, I think this is something that sometimes gets forgotten about, how widespread cyber is. Especially within policing, we can fall into this siloing of offences and putting them into little boxes that work and they're neat. And quite often people will talk about cyber-dependent crime and cyber-enabled crime. So cyber-dependent is where it could only happen because of cyber. So it's the things like DDoS attacks and things like that, malware, that type of thing, where if we didn't have cyber, those offences probably wouldn't exist. When we talk about how cyber is impacting across serious and organised crime, then we're very much into that area of cyber enabled. And we just have to think about modern life now. How many people have a smartphone? How many people buy cryptocurrency? How many people have a Ring doorbell on their house rather than, a traditional doorbell? All of these elements are, for me, cyber, and they're modern day living. And this is just what's out there now. This is the modern world, so it's natural that that would feed into every facet of society, and unfortunately crime is one of those areas. So it's something that's hugely prevalent.
So have you seen a growth in this cyber-enabled crime in particular, and what are you going to do about it?
I wish I had the answers. No, that's there's huge growth in this area. What we have seen over the last couple of years, some other crimes have either slowed it or they've even dropped in their reporting. Certainly, fraud, economic crime, cyber crime has just continued to grow. I suppose the natural thing with cybercrime is exactly what I've said. These technologies move on so quickly and they become more commonplace in people's lives, and as a result, more people use them. Fraud, certainly what we've seen with that is it's now a third of all recorded crime. And what we have is this ability now with the internet. We've got all of the benefits. I mean, how hard would the last year of lockdown have been only 5 years ago if we didn't have 5G in some areas, 4G as a sort of standard, but certainly our connectivity through this, through video conferencing, things like that, we've benefited hugely. But what it also has meant is that there are criminals who are in other areas of the country. There are criminals who are outside of the UK's borders who can reach into people's houses, reach into people's lives, and target them. So we need to be really agile and work on every way we can to reduce that threat and tackle those offenders.
So you said that cybersecurity is changing every day. It's an ever-increasing complexity. How do you in the police keep up with that ever-changing complexity?
Well, we have specialist departments. Certainly at NERSOU, there is a regional cyber unit. We have the regional protect network that works across the three forces. And in each of the three forces, this isn't just NERSOU. All of the forces are investing time in the skills and abilities of their officers, making them more aware of digital opportunities, making their specialist teams as up to date as they can be. But alongside what policing are doing themselves, we are hugely reliant on our partners. You and I have talked at many events, and the private sector are really, on the cutting edge of a lot of these areas. Certainly the Northeast, I've seen many times the fantastic FinNet network that we've got across the Northeast, and we're at the cutting edge with lots of those technologies. So the police are not reliant, but we're very hungry to engage with those partners and learn from those sectors, what we can do better.
Excellent. And so what sort of skills would you need to come and work in NERSOU?
It depends on the role. You quite often hear that policing has a job for everybody, and in normal policing day to day, you might have dog section, firearms, officers on the beat, CID. There are lots and lots of roles. It's the same at NERSOU. There are lots of roles in different threat areas: economic crime, cyber, traditional sort of organised crime. That's just for the police officers, and that recruitment comes from our three forces. So if you wanted to be involved, it would be applying to those forces in the first instance and then subsequently looking for a move here. But we're also recruiters for police staff roles where you aren't a warranted officer, and that's the same again across the three forces. So the skill sets really are dependent upon the job that you're going for. If you're looking at cyber and you've got that background, if you're looking at financial and you've got that background, there will be jobs, there will be opportunities that always come up.
That sounds absolutely fascinating field. And so if somebody's interested in getting involved, what sort of pathway would you suggest they take?
I mean, this is, it's the public sector, and we are here to provide a service. So I think first and foremost, it's understanding that is the role that you're here for. You're here as a public servant. You're here to protect your communities, and I think that's a real motivator for people. And people do feel passionate about that. Yes, if we compare like for like with the private sector, we're not going to be comparing wages, perhaps. But there's a difference, and there's a draw that people feel to working for the police and doing that part of work. What I would say is, understand yourself, understand your own skill sets, and there will be a job there for you. It's really that simple. There is something for everybody.
Excellent. So my last question then, this time's flown by, but these next few months are going to be a challenge just like the last few months. What are your personal hopes in terms of the future?
My hopes are the same as everybody else. We get back to a little bit of normality. We've got some exciting times coming ahead at NERSOU. There are some plans in the very early stages, certainly around economic and fraud, which I will be a part of, but I can't talk about at the moment. They're still on the drawing board, but we will we'll speak no doubt in the coming months about them. But really, I want everybody to stay safe. The pandemic's had a huge impact on society as a whole, on people's mental health, how people have coped with these stresses, and I want people to stay safe. From a crime point of view, we've seen this be exploited. When the pandemic first hit last year, there was a real concern that we would see lots of fraud and lots of online crime really sort of shoot through the roof. And there has been increases, maybe not on the same scale that we expected. We saw certain types drop, certain types go up. But what we did see is just this abuse of the opportunity that the fraudsters carried out, the narrative of crimes, the frauds, the lies that were told to people, where they are seeking to control them, to get them to make those mistakes, where it opens up that opportunity of loss. Have just been, there's been this consistency where COVID has become the storyline. It's become a regular feature in lots of different crime types, lots of different offending, and it just shows the total lack of empathy that criminals hold, and a disregard for their victims, that they will just use any and every means to target them. We talk about fraud and economic crime and cyber crime a lot, and there's a real human element to it, where the offenders are trying to get those victims to make emotional decisions. They're trying to manipulate them, whether that be through incentivization, saying, don't miss out on this, or whether it be through concern and threat that, they're going to be opened up to loss. And sometimes all it takes is that little bit of doubt, and, it's a click of a button with cybercrime sometimes, or it's a belief that they're talking to someone they can trust. So hopefully we can get out those messages to as many people as we can, and we can help people stay safe, and they can create good habits to keep themselves safe.
Excellent. That way, you've certainly got your work cut out, and it just shows the breadth and scope of how cybersecurity is important in our lives. So thank you very much for that, Paddy, and that's been really good. I'd also like to thank Robert Campbell, who's helped me to set up these conversations. Look out for the next in our series, and if you're interested in taking part, please get in touch. Thanks once again, Paddy.
Thanks, Phil. Take care.
That was In Conversation with Phil Jackman, lead for CyberNorth. Audio and video production was by me, Robert Campbell. This was a Team Funds production for Dynamo Northeast.